I'm here with Anna Boyce again, who was on our last show. Anna is a registered nurse who was one of the co-sponsors of Proposition 215, which legalized the use of marijuana medicinally in California, and the first one in the States. And I'm so proud to be here with you because without you, this may have never happened. So we all owe you a great debt of gratitude. But I want to talk to you about being a nurse and marijuana. And you had talked about in the last show that your first exposure is when you were a student nurse, just beginning to come out. How have you seen marijuana treated by the nursing profession over the years?
Fully supportive. I have not, up to this date, had a nurse, or even doctors for that matter, say it's a waste, this is foolish, it's an addictive drug, it has no value. I have heard, in fact, if they weren't so frightened of the FDA and the police and all, they probably would come out and support it fully.
I know.
They would.
I know. The California Nurses Association and the American Nurses Association have endorsed the use of medicinal marijuana. So this is fairly a common position of nurses.
Because we know the value, and we know it's not addictive, and we know it's not hazardous.
And it's like, what's the big deal here? And yet, it is a big deal.
You can't buck society. That's one of the things. When I started this, there was a lot of negativeness. I had phone calls. I went to meetings and I was ignored, ostracized, or they would say, oh, there's the marijuana nurse. That's the nurse that supports marijuana. But yet individually, it was, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how often do we hear police officers say, my brother, my sister, my aunt is using because none of the other drugs work. But will they go to Sheriff Corona and say to him, let's get on the other side of the bandwagon and support this? No. Mm-hmm. It's not a career-wise move. Amounts to that.
Yeah. And yet it's almost criminal in that it would be so beneficial to so many of the patients to be able to use this medicine.
I'm just kind of disappointed. When we first started this initiative back in '96, I made a $1,000 bet that we would be legal in 10 years. And I'm sorry to say, I don't believe we will be.
We only got 4 more months.
Yeah. No, November. No, but the person I bet with said it's okay. we certainly have gotten...
Maybe they'll give you another 10 years.
I hope so. But we have, look at what we've accomplished.
Yes.
Look at the states that are allowing it now. And again, it's not the stigma it had once.
Right. And even counties like Riverside County, which was so backwards, they're now allowing dispensaries to operate. It's like people are beginning to recognize this. If we can only get the federal government to back off, but they just seem intransient.
Well, I don't think we'll ever get the federal government because the pharmaceutical company is so powerful. Mm-hmm. And this is a drug, a herb, I would prefer calling it an herb really.
It is.
That we can grow and we can use at our own discretion, and there's no money in it for them. The very first year that I had started this, back in '92, at that time the pharmaceutical company supported it.
Oh, really?
Yes. They came to the hearings and they were there, and then suddenly I think, it's my only opinion, that somewheres up there someone said, you can't. This is not a drug we're going to manufacture. This is something you can grow. This is an herb that's growing in your backyard. So why should we support you? And midstream, they didn't come back to the meetings or anything. But they were there to testify against it.
So, well, yeah, well, it's all about
MONEY.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can get Marinol, which is synthetic THC, because the pharmaceutical companies can patent artificial THC, right, but they can't patent natural THC, and it's such a shame because we've got this horrible thing like in this drug that would be considered the 21st the greatest discovery of the 21st century if it was discovered by Pfizer today, is instead made illegal.
One of the assembly women, when we was presenting it to the health committee, I believe it was, had said she didn't think it should be sold anyway in drugstores. That comment was made that maybe that they put it in a capsule form and you could go buy it, etc. And she was very concerned that they would break into drugstores to take this. And she looked at me and she said, "Don't you agree?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you, and this is on record, if I was breaking into a drugstore, I think I'd go for the heroin, the codeine, all of that. I don't think I would worry about marijuana because I could grow my own if I wanted it."
That's right. Yes, you could. You could.
She didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, what would you say? I want to wrap up the discussion, but I would like you kind of make a comment on what you see the connection between being a registered nurse and what registered nurses could do to help this.
What can we do? I think, the American Nurses and the California Nurses Association are supporting it because we know the value. We know definitely it is an advantage. We know it's not addictive, it doesn't lead to other drugs, etc. I think the nurses need to band together and fully support it. Come out verbally, have interviews, talk to the patients, have the patients talk to their doctors, or get active in politics.
Well, nurses are probably the most respected profession in the United States. Probably have more status even than doctors as caring individuals. And I kind of look at it that it's the way the doctors diagnose patients and the way nurses diagnose patients. Doctors diagnose based on the disease, nurses diagnose based on symptoms. And it's
the results of those drugs.
Yeah, and so marijuana is a symptomatic relief drug and with very little danger. And so it would be like the thing that nurses should really be pushing.
Well, do we put a firecracker under them and hope that they move?
I sure hope so. If anybody can do it, it's the nurses and the California Nurses Association. Anna, thank you so much for joining us here on Marijuana, Compassion, and Common Sense. And I'm sure we'll be talking with you again sometime in the near future.